Hi there, Ray Freeman Psychotherapy here. Uh, this is part 4 of 5 of my short run of videos on family narcissism. I'm going to revisit what I did yesterday, Scapegoat versus a Golden Child, but delve a little bit deeper into the development of these people. It may be a few minutes longer than the previous videos, but I'm trying to get a little bit deeper into help you understand the difference between the two. But also I'll be reading notes because I want to make sure I get everything in. And this is slightly longer, so I'll get on with it. Probably a good idea. The growth of resilience in the scapegoat is manifest. It's brilliant. Many family scapegoats develop remarkable resilience. They have adaptive capacities for survival, recovery, and growth that transform their vulnerability into strength. Maybe hidden while they're children, but it comes out as they grow older. Resilience in this context is not a single trait, not a single personality type, but a process, a gradual accumulation of the resources, the skills that are needed in relationships and meanings that enable the scapegoat to withstand stress and repair the damage and build a life less defined by the family. I'm using the word scapegoat continually today because I can't think of another word. Maybe one of you could come up with one of the alternatives of scapegoat, because I'm not actually keen on the word. I think it's sort of almost derogatory. Anyway, come back to that. Scapegoats learn to read emotional climates really quickly. They anticipate triggers really well. They do this for minimize the harm that might come to them. Hypervigilance, people pleasing, emotional suppression may feel to us maladaptive, yet they can function as a short-term tool to avoid abuse and maintain their basic security. Over time, some of these survival strategies become foundations for adult resilience. Self-reliance can become competent independence, and the ability to tolerate distress can be rechanneled into persistence and problem solving. They can grow up really powerful adults. Self-awareness is the key, of course. It reduces their internalized blame and guilt and creates a psychological distance between them and everybody else. This is a strange thing. They can become morally quite isolated and have to learn to reconnect. But that resilience gives them the power of understanding themselves. Education and validating relationships contribute to the way that we reframe. Therapeutic work often helps scapegoats regulate intense emotions that were either suppressed or explosively expressed as emotional regulation. And as that improves, impulse reactions recede and a calmer, more measured approach to the relationship emerges. If you're getting the hint that I actually quite like the way scapegoats behave as adults, you're seeing through me a little bit. I do. I think they're fantastic people because they've survived and they've grown that strength inside. And that grows when they learn to set consistent boundaries. Initially difficult given family reactions, but it does through rehearsal, and as they get older, modeling, and they take these little experiments and they expand on them. Nothing worse to a child than being ignored by the parent. Silence and that sort of punishment digs very deeply in the child. A scapegoat will learn to deal with that gradually. Over time, these acts reduce the harm and enlarge the emotional space that they have for recovery, simply because they are learning to do it themselves. They may try to construct their identity outside the family influence altogether. Become very successful professional people. This works with self-compassion, and as identity becomes stronger as they grow older, so the resilience grows. And they can be quite powerful individuals. Economic independence helps make decisions like limiting contact, and that protects and allows growth, of course. Economic independence comes from performance of the adult. Like I say, they often show an awful lot of resilience and go into professions that take years to develop, to qualify. But everyone's different. Commonly, immediate coping and crisis management and short-term strategies get the scapegoat through the worst of the abuse. From there, they manage to stabilize and make more stable life decisions. It's a difficult journey, but it's very doable. Some people quickly progress and others cycle between progress and relapse, depending on the family pressure and the life stresses outside. Patience, repetition, and incremental wins are the way to proceed. What I call bottom-up thinking, one small step at a time. The barriers to growth of resilience can be an ongoing contact with a toxic family. Members of the family who punish their boundary setting, excuse me, they will play on the guilt because that's the way that they make you feel. Because you're a nice person, of course you're going to feel guilty about doing something against even the most horrible abusers. You will still feel guilty because you're nice. Remember that resilience doesn't erase the harm. Scapegoats often pay the price. Delayed development in trust, hypervigilance, and a grief for the family that they never had in the first place. They never had family, they had relations. If you can acknowledge these trade-offs, it normalizes and changes and encourages development. If this is you, seek an experienced therapist and practice small boundary acts and celebrate successes, remembering the compassion for yourself. Scapegoats can improve with help. They can reduce the guilt. And I've worked with scapegoats in the past where they still feel a little bit guilty, but they can't actually remember why. That's a really strange thing, isn't it? But that's what happens sometimes. But they do get an increased life satisfaction once they are freer, separated from the family. Whether it's permanent or not, that's up to them. The growth of the resilience in scapegoat is complex. It's a courageous process of reclaiming yourself, repairing your identity, developing your identity, and even building supportive networks. On the other hand, the golden child never develops good decision making, or very rarely. Being the chosen one, they never get to practice any decisions in safe environments. They never get to make decisions whether they're right or wrong that can be repaired easily because it's in an enclosed environment. In these families, the golden child is idolized, is praised, is protected, and used as a symbol of the family success. It's a strange role, but it's what happens. This role seems to confer advantages and approval, but it carries a hidden cost, and this decision-making issue is one of them. Over time, it can produce adults who struggle to make sound, independent decisions. Sometimes they don't even try. They grow up relying on external validation. If you compare that to the scapegoat, who's relying almost entirely on internal validation. And that's what builds the strength. Relying on external validation And they quickly learn that their value hinges on that external approval, parental praise, achievement, or adherence to family image. Narcissistic behavior has this reliance on external validation. This is why they are so wayward in the way they behave. Decisions then become oriented towards pleasing others rather than reflecting internal values. When the choices are consistently made to secure praise, their ability to weigh their own personal priorities and long-term well-being against this family desire, this family need, it can almost completely destroy any ethical background that they may have in making decisions. Without a stable sense of intrinsic worth, they only consider whether it will win approval or not. And isn't that so narcissistic? All we have to do is bully this person to get our own way. We win approval. We are the center of the universe. And I can externally validate my feelings. The golden child learns to avoid situations where failure might happen. This avoidance prevents learning crucial components of good decision making, of course. They get no setbacks, so they never learn the consequences and how to recover it. And this is so typical of narcissistic behavior. But being protected while they're developing, they lack the genuine autonomy and they are dependent on external directives all the time. They actually create their personality on that external validation. And I keep saying it, I know, but I'm saying it again. This is how narcissism develops. Behavioral narcissism. Often this weight of expectation that comes with a golden child, without the resources or resilience to cope, they sometimes go the opposite way and become a burden. Both directions. I have known them to become substance addicted or wayward and turn on the controlling family. Wow, they do. They are usually rescued. It doesn't matter what depths of bother they've got themselves into, but it becomes a cycle. They may even be partially successful, but it will be overridden by potentially substance misuse, turning on the family, or actually becoming the lead in the family, the lead over the top of the bullying parent. Because the golden child is often surrounded by people that enable adults or peers that will reinforce this golden image, they very rarely hear the truth. They very rarely hear a critique. They may see constructive feedback as envy, so the golden child's judgments remain untested and skewed by the enablers. When mistakes occur, they may be explained away rather than engaged with stunting growth. The thing is that they will never accept the responsibility. Some golden children internalize entitlement. They believe that they are favored. They actually believe the press from the family that they are the best. Oh wow, this is a long way to fall when they do. And more often than not, they do. It depends on how they take this on board, but they have what's called a decision-making deficit when they get to adulthood. They may choose prestigious yet ill-fitting careers that sustain parental approval, but they erode their own self-satisfaction. And this leads them to jump or fall into abuse or into turning on the family. Some golden children take unnecessary financial risks, believing their favored status will protect them, while others avoid financial decisions out of fear of failure and hence underinvest in their independence. They often have an ethical blind spot because they're so engrossed in approval to validate themselves. Ethics goes out the window. Tendency to rationalize. They rationalize their self-serving. This is why they like short-term goals. This is why many of them will end up in multiple affairs. They don't have the internal structure to make commitment, to make things last. When there's no script for a parental approval, they can freeze or default to simplistic answers, lacking the ability to analyze. Not every golden child can be this bad. Variability arises from temperament and how the individual develops. And I'm very much thinking about this as an overview. And we all know that we are all individuals and we're all unique. So there will be very many variations in this. It's a weird thing, but the social and emotional structures that create good behavior and outward success for the golden child, at the same time it impedes their autonomy. They're looking to validate out here. There's nothing here. And this leads to the behavioral narcissism that I often talk about. If I sound like I'm leaning one way towards liking scapegoats and not liking golden children, that might be a little bit harsh on me, because it's not about not liking. That takes energy. I have little time for the golden child because I meet them so often through the third party of their abused partner or abused family member or abused work colleague. I think I've said enough for one day. Tomorrow is the final one, and I'm calling it 3 Degrees of Freedom. 3 Degrees of Freedom. Stay, go, do neither, do both. So I'm calling it 3 degrees. In the meantime, you'll find me on rayfreemanpsychotherapy.com. If you want to talk to me, talk to me. That's fine. If you have a question, drop me a line. I'll answer you, I promise. I've been asking a question all the week. If any of you are interested in a group support, I will run it if there's enough of you. I need to know if you're interested. There's no commitment at this stage. I just want to see numbers. So please let me know, by, what's today, the 4th, by, I don't know, the 20th of June. I don't even know when that is, but it's 16 days time. Let me know by the 20th of June. Drop me an email and say, I might be interested in. And what I will do is I will have a chat to people. If it's a runner, it will not be expensive, but we'll do 5 or 6 sessions of how to support you as an individual. Maybe in groups of 6, 8, 10, I don't know. It's just an idea. Help me develop it. In the meantime, stay safe and well. Thank you for listening, and I will see you for 3 Degrees of Freedom tomorrow. Bye for now.